the past, I've planned big things, I've pursued big things, I've achieved big things, but often at the expense of ignoring everything else in my life. I didn't seem to be able to keep everything together at once. Now I'm trying to plan maintenance first, define more things in my life as maintenance so they get done on a regular basis and don't become something big, and then fit the big project-y type things in around those. I know that I've had projects or goals to get this part of my life in order or that part of my life in order, and the difference is this time I'm trying to plan it as the rule, not the exception. I'm going to catch some things up, but I want to keep them in the forefront going forward. And also, I'm going to be doing things differently because I've learned more about the way that I think and plan, trying to just work with the way that my brain works. I've tried all the usual things. I've tried repeating due dates and notifications. I've tried index card systems. I've tried trackers with lots of checkboxes and columns. And I know that each one of those things works for some people, but none of those things so far has worked well for me for this type of stuff. They didn't work because either I didn't touch them, or in the case of notifications, I went numb to them, but they definitely didn't work. I've learned that I don't like schedules. I love the idea of schedules, but in reality, I just don't follow them in this stage of my life when I don't really have to. I tend to act when I see something and I have the time and it just kind of catches me. So instead of planning tasks first, I'm planning around the types of work that I'm going to be doing. Here's my system overview. Workflow maintenance. I've known for a while that I tend to see my life organized into different areas of life, like home and stuff, admin and finances, and everybody's got their little categories. And one recent realization is those are the same kind of groupings that I need to use to plan my maintenance. I'm making workflows for home upkeep, admin, including finance in there, and system maintenance, and really my weekly reset. The rest of it fits in there too, but I'm kind of keeping it segregated since it's on track. I'm just making system maintenance for parts that I haven't quite always hit in my weekly reset. I want to start small and get these most kind of important pieces running smoothly and not swamp them with too much detail and too many other areas quite yet. These are the type of things that I'm scheduling blocks for each week, and this has worked for some of these areas for me already. I'm just trying to firm it up a bit. The ones that haven't worked, I think rigidity has been part of the issue, where I feel like I've got to do everything on this list, and if I don't, why even bother? So I'm trying to be a little more gentle with the wording. It's not my nature. I tend to think it's a to-do list. I should be able to work my way through it, but just sometimes the brain does what the brain does. I'm just trying to give myself smaller pieces and not make it seem like a mandatory thing so that I don't push back against it. Physical and visual maintenance. I started doing this during resets and reflections. I would jot down things that were bugging me, and then miraculously, those were the things that I was able to get taken care of. For example, I keep walking by this pile in the hallway, it's bugging me, I should go take care of that. Once I wrote that down, I went and took care of it. Evidently, I respond to things better when I notice them like this, rather than seeing a checklist of 20 things that I should get all this stuff done this week. I've loved the idea of zone cleaning. I've tried it several times. I've never made it through all the rounds. I love making the lists, but not so much following through on it. And I know you don't have to do the whole list, but for some reason, when I looked at it that way, I couldn't face it. Plus, if I'm cleaning windows, I don't want to clean 2 windows in one room and leave the rest of the windows dirty. I want to clean windows. So for me, I do things better when I'm in a certain mode. So I'm trying out grouping things that I notice that are messy or cluttered or undone by what I'm calling modes. What I'm fighting against is listing all the things I should do and just writing down the things that I notice. When I see something, I write it on the first sheet, and then after I take care of the thing, I record it on the second sheet. And if I'm just walking around the house and I do something that wasn't on those lists, then I just record it on that second sheet on whatever mode it fits behind. These things don't have due dates. I am not going to schedule them. When I have time, I just do something that catches my eye. Or if it's something that I've scanned a list and I see it there, I might assign it a block or a couple things to a block. We'll see. What happens more often than not is I'm just walking around and I'll just do something. And the problem is I think a lot of systems I've had haven't honored that. So this way I'm hoping it does. So those first two things I've talked about are my two types of current maintenance, workflow and physical/visual. So this is where projects come into play. They're going to come into play after maintenance. Got my projects in OmniFocus, and I'm happy with that, but I haven't been getting into it and working on it recently. I just don't have a flow for when do I go in and when do I pull and what. So that's part of what I'm working out. I decided I need to commit to, on paper, which projects I'm focusing on each week. So I have built something to help me do that outside of OmniFocus, and I'll be looking at that daily. I've also decided I need to go back to a weekly list of tasks. And the first things that are going to go on that weekly task list are going to be project tasks for the ones that I've chosen to work on that week. Part of the problem before for me with weekly task list is they were always swamped by maintenance. So now that maintenance will not hit that list, I'm hoping it'll be much more manageable. And also, instead of looking at my whole list of projects and trying to pick and choose whenever during the week, now that I will have pulled them out ahead of time and just have a few projects, not all my projects to look at, I'm hoping that will be better as well. And if I finish the ones I pull out, I can always go back for more. How this is flowing daily. As usual, I'm going to look at my calendar first, and I'm going to be working in my Hamelin spiral. I'm making these 5-box day grids, and I've really been loving this. So if I have any appointments or events that are timed, I'm going to put them in the box. I have early morning, late morning, midday, early afternoon, late afternoon. Then for the rest of the blocks, I'm going to look at the blocks that I have planned for the week. I have this 4-column week paper, which is a whole other story. It's very work in progress, but you'll probably see more of that soon. Then I'm going to look at my seasonal focus map. This is a mini version of what I did in my seasonal reset for the late fall. And I just took the areas that I prioritized and I wrote them to prioritize just the maintenance part in here. This is, again, work in progress. We'll see how this fits together at the end of this next season. Then I have my project list that I just talked about, my project picks for the week, and that just keeps those in mind. I have my weekly task list, and I have those modes for my upkeep type stuff. Between looking at those things, I'm going to fill the 5 boxes for the day. And I'm going to write my intention or my direction for each of those blocks. Notice there's not a firm start and stop time. I'm not saying this is an hour and a half and this one's 2 hours, or they're all 2 hours. It's just very floaty, and we're going to try that. And then most days I do have a today's top 3 tasks kind of a post-it as well. Sometimes I'm doing it before I do everything else, just the 3 things that are on the top of my head. Sometimes I do that, crumble it up and fix it afterwards. Still trying to figure out with these new things to look at where that's going to fit in. When I don't have it, I miss having a very strong direction for like the minimum things I need to get done for the day. As far as the 2 maintenance things I prioritize, the workflow, that's where the blocks come from, the 4-column week, and the physical visual tasks from the modes. You know, I might have put them in a box, I might not. I might have put them as a task, I might not. Or I might just do them as I walk around. The key thing is I'm trying to make it feel pleasant, not urgent, but still prioritized. A few things that I'm still noodling around on. I'm fighting writing down every piece of maintenance for every little area of life because that would be overwhelming and it would swamp everything. So it's out there, it's in the back of my mind. I know I don't have to do it now. And then I do have one other thing that I need to figure out is like the maintenance-y things where I probably do need a reminder. I do have legacy lists of those in reminders, and I'm just leaving them for now. The problem is, again, I'm not great at paying attention to some of those notifications because they're not clean. I do think that's where they'll live because that's mostly worked for me going for the like strong date things like your property taxes are due. But the things like clean your vacuum filter, those are the kind of, yeah, they've got a schedule, but So those are the ones that I'm not quite sure about. So check back. I'll give you an update in a few weeks. And if you look over here, there's probably some stuff that led to this video and some of the stuff that's come after it.